Welcome to the start of a Vulcan Brutal playthrough using the current Stationeers beta. The difficulty is normal, the starting condition is brutal. I'm using the second drop point, the same location I used for my previous test 1 run. And speaking of the previous test 1 run, I am applying various improvements from that run. Things I did well, I'll keep. Things I did poorly, I will remove or change a bit. Alright, as before, we hit the ground running here and zipping at approximately 130 or so to grab the container or the crate. And there it is. It's always in the same place, fortunately. Grab it, and there's the O2 tank. I did consider grabbing the O2 tank and bringing it over to the crate, but this location seems a little more central, and I didn't want to be on the edge. Also, this is closer to the drop pod, which I need to pull out some food and water out of there. I just flip my light off to try to save a little bit of power. Okay, go ahead and drag it over stuff I need, which is not a lot there. Alright, so I'm orientating myself facing 180. And let's crank these out. Yeah, I mix up how I lay these out. Sometimes I laid out the floor and then the walls and the ceiling. This time I'm figuring I work my way down. Not really sure which way is best. I guess I could do it different ways, record it, and then look at the time for each scenario. I doubt the few extra seconds either way makes that big of a difference. Here I am welding up the structure. I'm actually taking it a little bit slower to try to avoid missing a weld. And one thing I didn't do, which is different from the test 1 run, is I did not do any pre-mining. So I went right to construction. Is one better than the other? I don't know. I decided to go this way. One of the plus sides of constructing first is that I'm a little more calm because I don't know if I'm screwed or not at this point. Because if you go looking for ore and you get behind, at least for me, that creates a construction panic. And then I start making additional mistakes. So I figured, well, let's just do this and get this done, get it done right, and then go looking for ore. I'll just drop a bunch of flares down, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. All right, so I'm facing 180. I lay this out, so this is facing 270. And when I place the solar sensor, it all works out that for the horizontal, I just have to copy the value over. I also like running the cable down this side of the wall, sort of from habit. So that's the other. Also, plus since I'm facing 180, that means the sun is on the other side of the base, and that's the side I'm going to expand for the greenhouse. So it's already a sun-facing direction. So it all sort of works out here. Now you notice I did a little extra cabling up above this time. So all the cabling, initial cabling outside is done. And, one is since I have the tool and stuff in my hand, it's not that much longer just to add it. And if I need to zip out there during the day to put something on, I just have to drop the component on there and get back in. I don't have to, drop it and pull out the cables and do wiring and all that. I just put it down and go. All right, so we got power hooked up. And we're going to drag this down the center and put that in the end so we have it. And let's start opening up the box. So we just need to get this arc furnace up first. And really from the previous test one, as so far, it really hasn't changed too much. Now I did build instead of do mining, but the construction of, and I did add a little more wiring outside. But the power unit and charger and all that's all in the same place. So you see, I'm like, look at the base, looking at my bearing. So worst come to worst, I can go back in that direction. So we found the iron. So we'll go ahead and mine that a bit. Now, typically for the very first episode, I don't speed up the mining sequences. Generally because they're not very long. And this also gives you a better scale to how much time I'm spending on mining versus other things. After with episode 2 plus, then I speed those up. Alright, so we got the some iron. We need that for the pipes. Now we still need copper, and we really need to get copper so we can make a door, and we need to make gold. Attain gold, so we can go ahead and put up the logic circuits so I can enable the tracking. A lot of solder right there. So here's copper. Once again, I kind of face to base, look at what direction I'm pointing, because I'm worried that if the flares go out. Yeah, I really love that work they did on the coloring the terrain. That definitely makes things a little faster, because I just know where to mine. Before, I would just have to like spin around mining the heck out of everything, looking for any more ore. And we'll zip back here. We need some gold. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe go ahead and drop that copper in there and get that cooking while we're going by here. And you know those fragments, all the gold right there, perfect. And once again, I kind of face the base. That way, if the flare goes out, I know which way to go. Yeah, you can see the wind action from mining, but it doesn't really move you around much because of the low pressure. So I'm getting a little cocky at this point, and so I'm just going ahead and doing a lot of extra gold mining. Okay. And there's the base. The flare is still lit up. Forced you had to go that far. Now we got to get going. Yeah, I still got my light on. I'll turn that off in a bit once I get this stuff constructed. I need to... Yeah, building this didn't flow as well as I hope. Do that. Grab that. And it's starting to get toasty out there. Time to get going. Remember how to cable. So I do push the day a bit more on this run than I did in the previous run. And snap, snap, snap. There should be enough of that. Yeah, 5%. I got grovel for batteries. Yeah, try to make sure I have those almost dead batteries in my inventory. Nothing worse than looking at all your tools and they all have empty batteries when you could have been charging them. All right, then we got to crank out 3 pipes and a door. And it's up to 300. If I can spell door. D-O-O-R. There it is. And this is the same before. We'll drop in 3. We'll put a door on here. And then pop 2 off and it bursts. We need to cable it up. And pop, pop, pop. Okay, we'll need another door. And that's close enough. So this time I'm not going to be as crazy with creating a vacuum. I don't believe I use my atmosphere analyzer a single time in this episode. Now we need some more pipes. All right, now we need some pipes to hook into that. And I don't know if you heard it, but there's a pop that happens, and I actually heard the pop. You can actually look through the crack and see if it's burst or not, and see if it's steaming or not. I'm not a real fan of that technique, but it's the only way to do this. Okay, time to flip on the flares, and putting the flare in my backpack works just as well as a belt, so that's a little easier to do. Saves a little time. Hard to see some of these things. It's 0. What's next? Who's next? Grinder. I'm just trying to think if there's any more batteries in the crate outside, but nothing else there has a battery in it, as I recall. I think I'm using one less pipe on the loop this time around. Then, and we'll drop these in. I'm being a little more aggressive at turning off equipment when I'm not using it. And see what we're doing on waste tank. Pretty good. So I almost made a big mistake here. I'm going, you know, I'm getting ready to disassemble the auto lathe so I can install the electronic printer. But there's a certain flaw with that. Yeah, I haven't built the electronic printer yet. Getting a little too ahead of myself. Fortunately, I did not disassemble it. That'd be even more entertaining. I was getting ready to. So we just need 2 gold. And get this going. And so it must be the O2 in the room. From the gold one. You smelt the gold, it does release a little bit of O2. Now, fortunately, nope, my flare went out. Fortunately, you're able to swap batteries and not interrupt the print. So that's quite useful. So it's pretty much, yeah, it's not much changed. I think I made, still the same thing. You need a base, you need an initial mine before you can close it. You know, you need some pipes, you need some doors. Worst come to worst, put a frame on there, but hopefully you get a door on there. Create a vacuum. Create some more pipes so you have a place to dump your waste and your O2, and then make electronic printer. Once you have that, take the other printer apart, put it in the electronic printer. And in this case, I'm going to go right to making 2 logic I/O units and a sensor unit. It only costs 3 gold and doesn't cost that much material-wise, and it prints pretty fast. You're waiting for the print to happen. I'm watching the battery, make sure. Yeah, we're not going to get it on until I got tracking set up. We're not getting much on power from the sun. It's sort of hit and miss depending on time of day, and do have a good angle on it. All right, now we can make another. Take this apart. I should have cleared out my inventory a little bit. Make this little process a little easier. Like I don't need 2 stacks of, well, 1 flare. 1 flare is burning, 1 flare is not. That's why I have 2 stacks of flares. I could throw the medicine pill into the other room. So I'm taking my time here because I'm kind of managing this full inventory. Could have tossed the pipes away, the frames away. Yeah, I should have cleaned out the inventory here and freed up more room. That would have made this a little faster. And fortunately, like power cable there, and you just drop it right in. Let's get rid of that. Caution. Yeah, I'm not in my groove right here putting this thing together. Toss it in there. I'm looking for that iron I had, and it's sitting in my inventory right now. Because I was on the ground and I picked up my mistake. 94, so we'll swap that. So we are getting some charge. Not much, but we are getting a charge. And we only need 3 gold. We'll make 2 of those. They only requires copper and gold, so I don't need the iron that I don't see in my inventory right now. So in mounting the tracking system, which only operates horizontally, not vertically, I do fix some issues from the first run. One issue is that I fix is that they will drive power from the APC, so they don't, so they get power directly off the battery, so they'll run continuously. Well, assuming you have battery power. The other issue I had is when I mounted the solar sensor, I mounted it inside, upside down. That inverted, so the horizontal value, the absolute value of the horizontal value was correct, but it was inverted. It was negative, which means that the tracker was literally facing the opposite way of the sun the whole time. So it has to be mounted face up, facing north. And I couldn't think of a good place to put it inside. So that's why the cabling outsides had that little spot, so I can drop it outside on the next to the future turbine location. I figure get while I'm mucking with the solar stuff, I'll go ahead and get that turbine printed. Now, probably would have been better just mount that stuff. Well, I figure it's printing now, so I'll mount it. And I'm not going crazy rushing this install, because I know from the previous run, even with poor power management, I can make it 3 days. So just doing it, nothing fancy, as long as I use the flare. So if I get it mounted early, might first miss the first day, but the second day I'll have it all set up and ready to go. So we'll be in and then we get a lot of power on that second day, because that track makes a big difference. Even though the vertical is not perfectly lined up, it's still more than enough for our little power concerns we have right now. We are getting some charge. I think power-wise, I'm doing a little better than at this point, I think I'm doing better than the previous run. Let's get a little bit of gas out. Now, I probably could have wired up the logic stuff and just zipped out really fast and just dropped the date sensor and then come right back in again. But I'm kind of waiting to say, well, I'll just wait till night to put that in. So that's why I'm not busy wiring them up yet. All right, my waste tank is pretty darn full. It might be a reason why I decided not to go outside with that, pushing the limits on my tank there. Now, one issue I have is I'm printing, and of course, I don't want to connect it and interrupt that print. So I'll do most of the wiring now and then do the final piece when the print ends. And this area is laid out the same as before, as far as where I'm putting the vents and the wiring. And finished. All right. I think it's dark out there, but let me take care of this first. I just want to get the burning flare out of this room. So when I do the O2 part, I'm not adding that into my O2 supply. I figure I'll just use a flashlight for now. All right, so we're gonna create a vacuum. We dumped our waste tank, move it over. And we don't need that now. Let's go ahead and top off our air tank. Now we are going through more O2 and generating more waste on this run than the previous run. So I was a little more aggressive on the mining. But that's also a good trade-off, because if you don't do enough mining, then you're just sitting here doing nothing because you don't have enough ingots to build anything. All right. First hydration. I do like the fact we get 125% now versus the 100 from the release. Although this was updated, I think with some kind of food update, they made that change. So it's been in both versions. But when last time I did this run, it wasn't a thing. So that saves a bit of time. All right, so we got the O2 back in the container, in the pipes. It's pure O2. It should be pretty pure. Let's get this mounted here so we don't forget. All right, so we got, I'll put that in here. So we have a, we had our two logic units, which are mounted. We have a day sensor unit kit, which I'll mount outside. We have a turbine, which I'll mount outside. And for both those, the wiring's already done. I don't know what's going on outside. Man, I'll use this cable. Let's take a chance. Oh, it's dark. All right. So let's get these mounted. First, mount this. Now you notice it just drops right in. Now, very important piece of detail is that I move the turbine over by 1. And that is so when I connect multiple turbines, that wire doesn't go down the corner edge between the frames. It's one off, and that way I can use the that edge for when I do the wiring of the logic circuits. They use that part of that edge. And I can't have those, of course, the data part and then power side mixing up like that. So I moved it over by 1, which frees up that space. And also the side bit of moving the turbine over by 1. It made room for the date sensor to fit right in that spot. So it's sort of a win-win scenario. And here's something else I didn't do. I'm going ahead and grabbing the my supply of water and food and get that in here now, at least in my inventory. I still need to grovel to the stuff in the lander. I don't do that in this episode. Here's something else I'm doing differently this time. I'm making lights. I'm going to make 2 lights, and I'm going to put those in the base and use those instead of my suit light. That'll save a lot of power right there. They're real cheap to make, and I'll put one on each end. Looking someplace to put it up here. I'll stick it here. That way I can stop using the flares and have normal lighting in here. And we turn that on and turn my suit light off. There. All right. See pretty well. And I'll put the other one next to the printer at some point. I'm considering putting one outside, and I probably will in a future episode, but I didn't do it this time. All right. The sun is coming up. And I figure, well, let's get a little mining done. So basically a little mining and zip through here. Because there's no reason to rush wiring up the solar unit yet, because we're not really going to get much right now. So by the time I get in there, get it wired, it should be fine. Okay, I'm just going to, the tracker will move it once I get it plugged in, but I figured for right now, let's kind of get it in that direction for a little extra oomph. Probably turn my suit light off by now. There. Okay, let's get these things wired. So this is the power side, and so we run power down. Now you see why I need to remove the turbine. That corner now got zapped for the power supply. And we we got power. We still got to wire them up. Now we got to hook all the data lines up. They really need a compact version of this. Having like, one side is power and one side is all the data stuff. I guess you could have even more compact than that, but I live with just one data, one power. That'd be fine. Instead of these weird loop-de-loop wiring schemes. Trying to get it in that corner there. It's not there. All right, that should be it. Let's grab our screwdriver, and this will be, we're going to read from the daylight sensor and go back, and we're going to read horizontal. Turn it on. We're just going to do a copy, so we're going to write it out to the solar panel, the horizontal. Turn it on, and magic should be happy. Now I had a compromise on the vertical setting. I think the vertical set to 50. 40 might be better. So in the early morning evenings, having a lower number is much better. I sort of optimize for the peak day. And that's a blue battery. That's a good thing. All right. Plus, we have the turbine out there running, so that's definitely going to help a bit too between both those. All right, so yeah, we're about 30 minutes or so in to run, and we have tracking going, solar tracking, and one turbine installed. I got 2 lights, indoor lights, so I have to rely on the flare contaminating the. Of course, I still have the issue with the furnace. I'll turn that off. I mean, make sure that, because if the arc furnace is running, there's no reason to go crazy on venting. You're just adding more gas. All right, so we can see without the flare or my suit light. Man, I'm charging my batteries left and right. So this is definitely much different than last time. Probably should have printed up a couple more small batteries. I think they don't require anything too fancy. Okay, so now I want to crank out those turbines. So the goal is to have 5 of them down that side. I can fit 5 on the existing structure. So I have between 5 of those and the 1 solar unit doing partial tracking. That will put us in a much better place power-wise. I am running the furnace right now. Just making sure they're happy. Now to get the vertical tracking, I need what? A read, writer, and a math, and a memory. So I need 2 logics, math unit, and a memory unit. So what is that? 4 gold and some copper. And find some place to stick it. I guess put that stuff on the opposite wall would all fit. And then I have dual tracking going. Making some more gold, which consumes quite a bit of power. Once I get a furnace up and running, I can just smelt all the gold I want for free at some point. Now we need some more copper. Where's my floor light? There it is. I should turn it on and turn my suit light off. Okay. More copper. There it is, right there. Yep, helps pick it up first. The problem with the light on the floor like that, it's you keep bumping on it. Okay, there's a magic thing with sensors, and I can't use the one outside because it's outside. If you have it mounted, and you look at the vertical, if the vertical is below 90, it's night. If it's above 90, it's day. It does not require power. So all I do is plug that in there, and the vertical, and from the vertical I can say, oh, it's daytime. So that makes a real easy way to see day and night, and in theory, based on how close it is to 90, you know, are we peak day or whatever. Another charged battery. Yeah, this is definitely going much better. Because once you're able to resolve the early power issues, everything else becomes much easier now. And I'm watching those. I actually make a mistake. I should be watching vertical. I looked at horizontal. Horizontal went under. And I go, okay, it must be nighttime. So I rushed out there to mine some more. I think I needed more copper. And then realize, oh, it's still the daytime. And come on back in. Okay, let's get these out of my inventory. I'm smelting right now, so I don't want to open that door. Although it really didn't matter. It's not that much gas in here. And it's actually only 3 Celsius gas, so I might as well open the door and throw it in there. Some ores, when you smelt them, they actually have a cooling effect. Yeah, I'm going to misread this in a minute. It doesn't, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just, yep, just charging all these batteries. So I'm sort of blocked right now for ore. I can't, I can smelt 4 ores of iron, I guess. But until I get more copper, right? And seriously, I'm thinking it's nighttime, or almost nighttime, right? It's like the sun's just going down, and there's some iron there. And then I'm so focused on finding copper, like right here. That's interesting. You have the highlighted spot on the surface there. And I'm so focused on finding copper, I didn't realize that, you know, it's still like hot outside. I go, well, yeah, the heck with it. I'll just mine copper anyway, since we're doing reasonably well. You got a little bit of copper. Yeah. At least I can see my location, my base. That worked out. Get in here and listen. Get that smelting. Get. Swap that over. Yeah, you definitely see the difference of having the tracking logic actually installed correctly. The big difference in power. And then yeah. I think about now I realize I looked at the wrong number. I should have looked at vertical. So when vertical goes to 90, below 90, then it can go out. I believe when you even at that point, you're still at sort of nightfall. So the temperature is not 126 yet. It's only like when you get really night, but it's still down to like, you know, 230 or something. It's more than acceptable to start mining. And of course, you can see at that point a little bit. So I'm just trying to get enough copper so I can make that next turbine. So those lights I think are really helping a lot. And yeah, we can make another one. And a little more copper, we can make 2 more. I don't get all 5. I get 4 up in this episode, so it's a pretty good chunk. Yes, this is going pretty well. I mean, I think on the only con would be I went through a lot more waste tank in O2 in this episode than the last one. I was definitely more aggressive being outside. But I didn't lose any O2. I stored it, so I can always grovel through that later and pull it out. Take my 4 ore, smelt that. So when night hits, I'll put those 2 more up. I think might need some more cabling here too. I got plenty of cable. Getting there. Yeah, I can't. I don't know why I jump. I can't see anything anyway. Yeah. All right, another turbine. I guess I'm just staring there. I should turn off the lights. Sit in the dark. I don't have to at this point. I got enough power coming in. And watching the vertical, not the horizontal. It's below 90. So once it gets close to 90, then I know it's safe to go out there. 95, you want it definitely colder. And just to keep it neat. I'm waiting for that next one to finish printing, and then I'll go out and mount them both out there. Yeah, so we are effectively nighttime now. Yeah, and that's a pretty cheap solution to drop one of those on there. So next time, so in future runs, I recommend for everyone else to print 2 of those sensors out. They're pretty cheap, assuming you have the 1 and more gold and a couple copper to do it. So I'm sitting here sort of waiting, so I figure I crank out some cables. Alright, yep, it's definitely night. This will help a bit to one of these things mounted up here. Kind of squeeze them in a little bit. So it works out when you have 4 frames like this, you can get 5 will fit across. So every 4 frames, you get 5 turbines connected. And so now you see why I wanted to move one off. So I run this down, it doesn't interfere with the other cabling. And now that I did this, I remember way back, I used the same technique. I sort of rediscovered what I used to do. All right, so let's drop a couple flares. So we don't need flares inside anymore. We can be a little more hog wild on flares. Now something else I noticed, that light from the door hatch open, you can see that a good distance. So I realized if I put a light on the outside, like on each side of the building, and just turn them on during night mining, given the high density of ore, I should be able, and keeping a general bearing of where the base is at. If you get close to it, the lights are definitely, you'll see those lights. You're really far away, you might not see them, but I doubt I'm gonna get that far for a while. So I think next episode I'll put some lights on the outside and wire them up. There's a little bit of silicon, so I might as well dig that up. So you saw I just, I got to the copper and get that smelting, so I can get that another turbine or 2 up mounted for nighttime hits. There's some copper here. It turns out to be a magical location. There's both copper and then there's gold right next to it. So I went wild mining copper and gold at this spot. There's a whole bunch of gold there. Yeah. It's nighttime, copper and gold. Doesn't get much better than this. See, you see that light from a good distance away. That's just from inside. If I put 2 on the outside, that would be pretty amazing. If I was mining on the other side, I probably wouldn't see it, of course. Oh, got a lot of cables. Probably burned through all the copper I had. Let's smelt some more copper. Probably swap batteries so we get the big, large battery charging off the any wind power that might come through. I'm not sure how good the wind is on Vulcan. The big thing is they're reasonably cheap to make. Adding more tracking solar panels requires steel. So it's not something I can do yet. Once I have steel, then I can crank a bunch of those out. And try to make one more of those. Alright, so yeah, this run went a lot better than the last one. And definitely made a number of improvements. And maybe some minor little things that we've done differently if I did this again. But overall, I think it went well. I think in the next episode, I need to expand the base. And need to smelt some steel. So I can expand the base in two ways. One, I can set up hydroponics, or I think at the work area in the back I need to expand so I can install all the printers and not have them move around. I need to put a hydraulic pipe bender up, and I need to have room for a furnace to make steel. So I think, yeah, the workshop comes next. So the workshop with room for all the printers and a furnace. And with that, I can start making steel, and then with that, make a better battery. I can create more solar panel units that track, and that will definitely give me a big power. And then, of course, an IC and make IC chip. I could also make the the couple extra chips. Probably better do that because you can do the full 2-axis tracking with just chips. I just need 4 more to finish it up, and I'll probably go ahead and do that. That'll be pretty easy. I can do that in the next episode. That way it'll track, and now it'll definitely increase the power. And then when I drop more on there, they'll be even better. Probably could have done it in this episode, actually. I didn't think it'd go as well as it did. So, yeah, it just definitely time. And the wall behind me, right now, I would mount the extra chips there. There's plenty of room to put it there. And you can run the power down one side and the data down the center, so it all kind of fit in there. You just need a lot more cabling. And that would definitely help on the power situation. Guess it might help to grab our 1 and 0. And of course, when we get a pipe bender, we go ahead and make some more active vents. And I could just make it in the same spot I have now, but I think what's going to happen is once I make, I'll shoot for one more turbine to get the one more turbine, so I can collect it to 5, make the extra chips, so I can finish up the tracking, do it the manual chips. And then once I have all that done, I can take the electronic printer down, reassemble the auto lathe, so I can start building frames and walls and all that, so I can expand out the base. And once I have that expanded and enclosed in a vacuum, then I can turn around and make the pipe bender, and then, of course, build some more active vents and real passive vents, and moving forward. All right, so I'm going to end this episode all ready for the next one, all hydrated and tanks emptied and raring to go. Until next time, See ya.
Air tank critical.